Hello and good afternoon, teacups. Welcome back to Spill the Tea Lou. Welcome back to Teacup Castle. Welcome to today's show. And today we're talking about Newcastle. In case the title and the thumbnail didn't give it away, today is Newcastle's turn. And guys, I'm kind of doing these in order where the news is coming out. So yesterday we had news around Manchester City, we spoke about Manchester City. When we had news around Aston Villa, we spoke around Aston Villa. Today and overnight and kind of yesterday evening, there has been a bit of news. The news is around Newcastle. So we're going to be talking about Newcastle today. I see our Mama Flossie has a headache and I don't know if I've caused it with my thumbnail. So shout out to Mama Flossie. Who is with us today but is having quite a bad headache. Lots of love to Mama Flossie and hopefully she feels better very, very soon. There's nothing worse than a bad headache. Absolutely nothing worse than a bad headache. It's absolutely rotten. But I don't think it's quite as bad. I don't think it's quite as bad as it looks from the outside, which is kind of why we're addressing it today. Now, I think maybe I got a little carried away. I think it's maybe not quite as... Remember, I was like, it's new, it's fresh, it's exciting, they've cleared house, it's wonderful. Maybe it's not quite all that good, but I don't think it's quite all that bad either. So maybe it'll cheer her up a little bit while we go through this. But before we start talking about Newcastle and try and make Mama Flossie feel better about things, let me say hello to all of the wonderful teacups. Shout out to both Rob, Always United, and All Boxed, our eternal super stickerers. Rob, Always United, has sent us the little love heart Foxy. We have our mascot in the chat, and All Boxed Up, of course, has unboxed us. Because how could we do a show without being unboxed? So thank you very much to both Rob and to All Boxed Up getting their super stickers in the chat. Very much appreciated. I see Sam has rejoined us. Welcome back to Teacup Castle, Sam. Nice to have you in a live stream with us. It's quite nice to see you. We hope you've been good. I see Paige is also here as well. Hello to Paige. Gaz in the house. I'm sure I saw Shem earlier. Maybe I did. Maybe I imagined him, but I'm sure I saw him. Rose is in the house as well. Hello to you guys. Tom did pop in, so he's at work, he's popped in, dropped his like, and will be joining us for the 7 p.m. show this evening. So shout out to Tom for taking the time to come in and pop his like on the video. Please also do pop your like on the video because it does help us reach more teacups, and we are in search of more teacups. As Daz says, we're only around 35 away from 1,000, which is just incredible. Yes, Flossie, Tom rejoined us on last night's stream. We had actually a great old stream last night. But Tom, the return of Tom came back, rejoined us last night, said hello to everybody, delighted to be back, but he's got work this afternoon, so he's going to be with us again this evening. Sam says, yes, Lou, it's been ages, but I'm back, like Arnie. Now, guys, I want to just start. So first of all, Newcastle have officially announced Dedic. Now, we spoke about Dedic, if everybody remembers, when he was first linked. So there was the Pierre-Emile Højbjerg was linked from Marseille, and then he didn't want to come, and then he got the captaincy stripped off him in a really strange turn of events. Marseille stripped the captaincy off him. The owner took the captaincy off him for not going to Newcastle because they are really stuck for money. They're in a real struggle financially. They needed the money, and he wouldn't just take one for the team and leave. So he's had the captaincy stripped off him, which was really weird, really strange set of circumstances. But at the time, I sort of said that doesn't really feel like what Newcastle have been doing this summer. It feels a little off. And then the news came out around Dedic, and the manager knows him, but I said at the time it also feels much more like the other signings that Newcastle have been doing. It feels more of a Newcastle signing. This one, I think, has a bit more legs to it. This one did have a bit more legs to it. This one is now signed. This one, Dedic, is now officially a Newcastle player, making him Newcastle's 6th signing of the summer. Now, before Shem tells me, Spurs had 6 signings over 40 days ago, and they've done nothing since, to the point where Newcastle have now caught up with them and also signed 6 players. So, congratulations to Newcastle. 6 signings, which is more than my club, most of more than your clubs, and is matching Spurs. He also looks like a good wee player, and he's in a position that they really, really needed, and he's 24 years of age. They certainly, I don't know, maybe they saw our post or our stream on it, but last season, Newcastle had like the highest average age of their squad. They most certainly do not have that this season. I can guarantee you, before anything else, that is not the case this season. Absolutely, 100%, definitely. You'll see why as we go through their squad. But I want to give you a little bit more detail just on Amar Dedic. So this is from Keith Downey. Newcastle have completed the signing of Amar Dedic from Benfica for £29.5 million. So he's 23 going 24. He's right back in a position they need. He knows the manager. He was clearly scouted because he's their type of player. And they've got him for £29.5 million. Newcastle's business this summer has been so intelligent and really good pricing. Guys, tell me there isn't the equivalent of an Amar Dedic out there for £29.5 million at left back. Tell me there isn't one, because I don't believe you. So just putting that out there. He signed a 5-year deal. He will wear the number 37 shirt and is the 6th signing of the summer at Newcastle United. Dedic has been quoted as saying, "Working with Matthias again was a big factor for me." Tell me again the manager doesn't matter, guys. Somebody tell me again the manager doesn't matter. How many times this summer have we heard the manager was a key factor in why I came to X club? Sorry, guys. Whoever told me the manager doesn't matter, I'm sorry, you are factually incorrect. And this has been proven through the summer. So, the manager does matter, guys. Really matters. So, going to read that again. Working with Matthias again was a big factor for me. We know each other well. He knows what I can bring. And then Jessel, I think you actually might pronounce it Jessel. I think I've been saying it wrong. I think it's Jessel. I'm going to need to Google it. I'm going to need to find out how he says it. But I'm going to call him Jessel until I find out the right way, instead of saying it wrong differently. But so he has come out and said he will bring both defensive and attacking qualities to our squad, which suits the style of football that we want to play. He's athletic, aggressive, and technically very good. From the manager who has worked with him previously and who knows him better than any of us. So, really good signing, really good price, really good age, number 6 in the door. Bang on the money. Really good signing, really good news, I think, personally. Jenny! Hello, Jenny! She says, I hear the season is about to start. Well, do you know what, Jenny? It's coming close. Welcome back to Jenny. The people are returning, guys. The people who just can't be bothered with the transfer window. The people that don't care about the World Cup. The people are returning. All of the teacups are coming back to Teacup Castle. Isn't it lovely? Love it. So we have both Sam and Jenny back today. We had Tom back yesterday. We're loving life at Teacup Castle. This is excellent. Now, as I said, I think the signing there of Amar Dedic, really good, ticks all the boxes, happy. Really good signing, okay? However, it's not all wonderful news for Newcastle. So this came out, this is from Magpie 24/7, this is from Kyle and Paul. We've mentioned them a few times. Joe Willock, who Besiktas have been after for weeks, has suffered a groin injury in the 1-1 draw against Strasbourg. This surely prevents any transfer and also robs Matthias Jessel of an experienced midfield option. He now only has 1 year left, he being Joe Willock, only has 1 year left on his current 80,000 per week deal. And this was probably the last opportunity to sell him for some sort of decent transfer fee to reinvest in a replacement. Now, when we get to looking at the squad, we'll see the implications of that, him being injured, on the squad. So in terms of the money, in terms of they were looking at a deal for him, Besiktas, he's been rumoured with links all over the place, but Besiktas were looking really strong into him. He's now injured a groin, done something to his groin, probably a strain because it's normally a strain, which means it's unlikely that he's now going to be moved on. As they've said here, 1 year left on his deal. It just means then that he's quite unlikely to bring any money in for them, given the financial situation they're in, similar to Villa in terms of being under these European construction deals that they're under at the minute and restrictions. That's a big deal for them because they need to bring money in to be able to buy players. Now, they've brought in a large sum of money this window, but obviously the more they bring in, the better it is for them and the easier it is for them to reinvest. So that's quite bad news. Not only that he's injured, which we will speak about in terms of the squad, but what it does kind of into the future, because come next summer, he's not a player they're going to get money for. He's a player that they're going to lose on a free. So they'll get no money in, but they'll still have to spend money to replace him. And when you're losing players on a free and then having to pay to replace them, that's a problem. So that is then going to create more and more issues because they're not going to have another summer like this one. They're not going to have another Tonali, another Bruno G, another Gordon to sell. Dan Burn is getting on a little bit as well. You've got a few players like that. We're going to get to Joe Linton too. So that is an issue for them. That's a problem that they didn't need. It would have been better for them to be able to sell him and bring in the fee. That's a problem. And then I saw this, right? And I thought it was a really good example of how things can be framed. So the good news with Amar Dedic coming in, the bad news coming in with Joe Willock injured and potentially not going on his sale now. But this one I really caught my eye, okay? So Polymarket Sports have put out, and you'll have seen this in the title, Newcastle have won just one of their 6 pre-season matches so far. Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Anthony Gordon all left the club this summer transfer window. So without saying it, what they're sort of saying is they've lost all these players and now they've lost 5 of their 6 pre-season games. That's essentially what they're implying. They've not said this is why, but if you write those 2 sentences together in the same post, that's essentially what you are implying. And then this was quote tweeted by kind of a Newcastle account, right? Called NUFC Bible. So they're a Newcastle fan, obviously. But they've quote tweeted this and said, Newcastle didn't even win one of their 6 pre-season matches in 25-26. Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Anthony Gordon all played for the club that summer. So it's kind of like, you know, the first post implies they've lost all these games because they've lost all these players. Then Newcastle Bible and NUFC Bible provides us with a little bit of extra factoid. They lost all of them last summer. They went 0 for 6 last summer. And those players were there. So what's your point? Essentially, what's your point? And I thought it was really interesting because it goes to, like, what Polymarket Sports has said is factually correct. They've won 1 out of 6 and they've lost these 3 players in this window. But the extra information about last summer's pre-season, I mean, I don't know if it makes Newcastle fans feel any better because you didn't do particularly well after that summer. But I think it established the fact that it's not just because they've lost these 3 players that they've lost these matches. It's kind of not really related. So I did find that quite interesting. Things can be framed a certain way, it's not necessarily all of the information. Do you know, you can take 2 and 2 and get 5 because you've missed a step. So I just thought it was really interesting the way it was framed, the way it was put, the added piece of information that I thought was actually quite important. So I don't think, personally, I don't think they've lost these games because they've lost all these players. They've lost these players. They're in the middle of a rebuild. They've also lost their manager. During the pre-season, they're having to regroup. I don't think it's because Bruno and Tonali and Gordon aren't there, if that makes sense. I just found it really, really interesting. So shout out to NUFC Bible, because it actually made me smile when I saw it this morning. I was like, that's quite fun. That's the kind of thing I enjoy. So we are going to put, we're going to go to their squad. We're going to go through it. How many players have they got? Where do they have them? What's their depth like? We're going to put in their new players, the whole shebang. We do have to remember as well, Newcastle only have 1 game a week. So all of the other clubs have covered so far. Have we done Spurs except Spurs? Spurs only have 1 game. Newcastle only have 1 game a week. So with like United and Liverpool and Chelsea and those teams and City, we're looking at it through the lens of 2 games a week. 1 game a week is a whole different beast, okay? Your squad just doesn't have to be as big. It's almost better if it's not as big because you've got less games to share out, and it stops people getting disgruntled and like wasting or stunting their development because they're not getting enough playtime. So actually 1 game a week, you need a smaller squad is better. So we'll go through that in a moment, but I do just want to touch on some of your comments because I see ye chatting away. So let me scroll up. Let me see. Lucky has joined us. Hello to Lucky and welcome to the chat. Neo in the house. Hello to Neo and welcome to the chat as well. Let me see. Jenny says, what a strange transfer window it's been. It's been so weird. Not just for Newcastle. I think across the Premier League, this has been a really strange transfer window. It's just felt really odd. Really odd. I agree. Harold has joined us as well. Hello to Harold. Welcome to the chat. What else have we got? All Boxed Up says, Newcastle, all about context. Journos put their own spin on everything. And they only played friendlies, for God's sakes. Let me see. Sam says, I never take notice of pre-season, to be honest. There's a lot of people that don't. There genuinely is. Like Flossie told us she doesn't even watch pre-season. So there is a lot of people that don't take notice of pre-season. I can't help myself. As you've seen me, you have watched me watch Man United in pre-season. And at the start of every watch along, I'm like, it's just pre-season. Doesn't really matter. It's fine. We're just going to see where we're at. It's just pre-season. And then by like 20 minutes in, I'm like, what's going on? So I can't. I would love to be one of the people who doesn't care about pre-season because I think it's actually a lot less stressful. But I can't help myself. I do. I think it matters. But now, obviously not as much as a season game. But there are definitely a lot of people out there that are like, they're friendlies. It's pre-season. It's for getting up to fitness. It's for getting minutes in the legs. It's for getting tactics out there. It's for working out the kinks in the system. It's for experimenting. It doesn't really matter. I can't help myself. I try. I tell myself. And then you just watch it progressively like disappear. All logic just slowly disappears. I can't help it. There's nothing I can do about it. Flossie says, I'm funny. At least I'm something. Do you know what? I genuinely think, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, I love this. Like, sorry, I'm literally crying laughing at myself. Like, I love this. I love this channel. I love the interactions. I love the watch-alongs, the conversations. I genuinely feel like, do you know when you're going through life and you're doing different jobs and you're sort of saying like, I don't know if this is for me, I don't know if I found my calling. You see people with like a skill set, like a specific talent for things. And you're like, they've found their thing. That's their thing. Like, for example, Victoria Beckham, right? She was a Spice Girl and now she has a house of fashion. You look at her with the house of fashion and you're like, that is what she is meant to be doing. It is her. It suits her. I feel like, see this? I love this. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So hopefully we'll get more subscribers so I can keep doing it, because I genuinely adore it. Even when I get irritated, I love it. So yeah, what you see is genuine emotion. So I'm glad they're at the very least entertaining for you guys. I always ask for the entertainment, so hopefully I'm also providing the entertainment. So I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I am glad. Sam has not watched any of the Chelsea matches, but have followed the results. At the same time, I don't take no notice when things go well or bad. What I will say, I don't take as much notice of the final score. The final score, I don't really care, win or lose. You prefer to win, but I mean, I don't really care. What I want to see, though, is from the first pre-season game to the last, I want to see progression. I want to see movement in the right direction. I want to see things getting better, not worse. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It's not that I think, oh my God, every minor detail matters, but like Luke Shaw being flat out of position when we know that that's a problem anyway, tells me that hasn't been fixed. Do you know, like the tiredness. So we played a pre-season game on the Saturday. We played a pre-season game against Leeds on Wednesday. Then we played another pre-season game on Saturday against AC Milan. By the second Saturday, we were absolutely exhausted. We were dead in our feet. There was no energy and no tempo. That concerns me because that is a pattern we've seen before. When we play 2 games a week, we're shocking because since Carrick has come in, our fitness has dropped off a cliff. So that concerns me because it's a concern I've already had and it tells me it hasn't been addressed properly. So that's more what I'm looking at when I'm watching the pre-season games. Other than that, I just get back into the game. Oh dear. Sam says, I just see where I would like my club to improve in positions. For my Chelsea, we need a goalkeeper and a striker, both starting positions. Well, there's talk of Delap on his way out, so maybe. Flossie says, when we won the Carabao Cup, I burst into tears on a live stream. Then I was out in the garden shouting along with the neighbours. Love it. That's the way to do it, Flossie. That's the way to do it. Mohammed is in the chat. Hello to Mohammed and welcome. Rob says, when United score, he shouts a lot and he feels sorry for his poor neighbour. Oh, lads, we love it. We love it, really. We're all mad. Hold on, I need the fan, guys. I don't know what's wrong. I know this isn't a thing most people complain about, but my house is so warm. Oh, where's the plug? Like, outside today, it's like overcast, it's windy, it's rainy, it's a bit stinky. Inside my office, it's absolutely roasting every bloody time. Every time. Right, guys, let us go. We've put it off long enough, Flossie. You've distracted us. We're going back and we are going to look at the Newcastle squad, okay? So, I've been, shockingly, on the Newcastle website. Guys, Flossie, who was the other club? Was it Spurs that listed them by number? Yeah, Newcastle does the same. If you could just have a word, tell them that's highly just irritating. Highly irritating. Not appropriate. List them in their position, please. Not by number. So, Newcastle in the same bag as Spurs for your website. Actually quite irritating. But, I found the players. They're here. Some of them have pictures. Some of them don't. Yours don't even tell me their age. I have to go in, get their date of birth and work out their age. So, Not my favourite website, Newcastle's website. You have a cute little picture at the top of the players. But yeah, Flossie, if you just give them a call, tell them it was rather inconvenient. I actually had to do a bit of work on this one. But I've found the players, okay? So, on your senior men's team squad list, you have 25 players. Dedic, who has been announced, has to be added, which will bring you to 26, okay? Then we look, and of those 26, 7 of them are under 21. So you have 26 senior on your senior men's squad page, okay? Including Dedic. Bamba is 20, and he will qualify for under 21s. Sean Sturr, 18. Torre, 20. You've got a young goalkeeper by the name of Harris, who I imagine won't be included, but he's on your page because he's played. I think once they've made their senior debut, you seem to move them across to the page. From what I'm reading, if they've made a senior debut or been included in a senior squad, they get pulled across even if they're not going to be used. So you've got a young man by the name of Harris as a keeper. Sahar, who's a right back, he is 19. You've got Neve, 19. And of course, you've got Lewis Miley, who's 20. So of your 26 senior squad page players, 7 of them are actually under 21, which leaves you with 19. And there's a strong possibility that Nick Pope is going to be sold because you've brought in Hornacek, who's going to be the number 1, Yawen, who's his backup, and then you've got Gillespie listed here as like kind of your Tom Heaton type, your third goalkeeper. And then if you really wanted, you have this young man Harris as well. So the idea is if somebody would like Pope, he is available to be sold and bought, which would bring you down to 18. For most of the other teams we've talked about, I would say that's disastrous. However, I actually think with 1 game a week, that's actually very good. I think 18, 19, 1 game a week, I don't think is too crazy because it gives you the opportunity to have rotation options, backup options if somebody gets injured without being over bloated and not having enough minutes for anybody. So I actually don't think that's too crazy. What I do think is crazy is you've got 7 of them are under 21. I mean, now you'll see, they went from one of the highest or the highest average age to they have to be one of the lowest now. They have to be one of the lowest because of those 7 under 21s, Bamba, Sturr, Torre and Miley, 4 of them are actually first teamers. Sahar, I don't know. Harris, I don't think will be. And Neve, I'm not sure. Flossie might have to tell me about him. But I mean, you're not stuck for players and you've definitely lowered your average age of your squad, which I do think is a good thing. I just think you've really gone extreme about it, which I find quite amusing. I don't know if you can tell. So we're going to go in to looking at a lineup, like kind of what we've done with all the other, who's in what position of those 20 odd players. All boxed up, saying big up to everybody. All Boxed Up says, irrespective of all outside the YouTube world in your life, to me, Lou, you are engrossed, oh I am, and providing enjoyment to not only yourself with your indulgence, but to everyone who partakes in your channel. All Boxed Up, feeling very eloquent. Thank you very much. Do you know what I actually think? I think I enjoy it more because I don't interact with that many people who are big into football. So like Boffman could not care less. Other than guess, like my best friends, like in real life, don't care. They do not care. So I don't really talk that much football outside of YouTube, which means then I'm not tired of a subject. I'm not like, oh, this again. I haven't had 5 conversations about a topic already. When I come to you guys, it's fresh. I do think that makes a difference. But thank you very much. Very kind. Let me see what else you guys are saying. Lovely. Luke is in the chat, is not feeling good about Liverpool. I don't know what Liverpool have done to Luke, but he's not happy with them. NS Sports has joined us as well. Footy Corner also in the chat. Sam says, this is why I think Newcastle's season could go either way. Agreed. Flossie says, Mason Miley, Lewis's younger brother, is going to be one to watch. I actually saw the other day, somebody was saying, could Mrs. Miley have any more kids? She could sort the whole squad out by herself if the two boys are anything to go by. And it made me giggle because obviously Lewis is flying, and I have seen some clips from Mason and a lot of people talking about him. There's a lot of kind of excitement around Mason as well, so I think he's going to be another one. So yeah, you've got more in the pipeline, absolutely. So let us have a little look. Let us have a little look at the squad sort of setup. So as we've said there, in goals, you've brought in Hornacek, you've brought in Yoann, you've got Gillespie, and at the moment you've still got Pope, who you're hoping to move on, but you do technically, as it stands right now, still have Pope. And even if he goes, you do have this younger chap, Harris, as well, who's 20, so he's not like a baby either. So I think when we look at goalkeeper, I think we can put a tick. Goalkeeper, tick, A-OK. Then we go to left back. Flossie, I'm going to need your help for this one. So at left back, the only left back that I can find for you guys, and maybe I have missed someone, is Hall. Is Hall your only left back? I understand Dan Burn can play there, but he's a centre back. And the other one you had was Alex Murphy, who's currently on loan. Do you have any other actual natural left backs? Dedic, again, who you've just signed, he can play there, but he's a right back. So do you have any other actual left backs? Because I couldn't find one, and I may have missed them because I don't know all your players. There's 4 Miley brothers. I only knew about the first 2, so there's 2 more to come. Excellent news for Newcastle, Flossie. Huge. It is on Thursday. Thursday. Lou and Kai, the return. Thursday, 7 p.m. Rob says, we love this channel, as do I. Sam's husband also not interested. I prefer it. But yeah, so as it stands, I've only got a singular left back for Newcastle. So while I don't think they need a massive squad, I do think they need, while Lewis Hall is very good, they obviously need more than one. I know they don't need to do loads of rotation, but surely it would be preferable to have more than one. So let me know. So Hall, yes. Byrne, but he's a centre back, and Murphy is out on loan. Right, so you've only got, technically, Lewis Hall. That's a little concerning. So that's, you've got 5 goalkeepers, and then you go to left back and you're like, just Lewis Hall. And the amount of Man United content creators that I have seen throughout this summer, and journalists I might add, Man United like Lewis Hall. Man United are interested in Lewis Hall. Man United would love Lewis Hall. Man United are going to tempt Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall is going to leave Newcastle. He's their only goddamn left back. What do you mean, you maniacs? And this is, people don't pay attention to anything outside their own little bubble. Man United need a left back. Lewis Hall's a good left back. Loads of players have left Newcastle. Man United are going to get Lewis Hall. That's how those dominoes went. Completely untrue. Just untrue. It's not true. It's a lie. It's a big old lie. It really irritates me. Really irritates me. And yeah, so similar to Dedic, Livramento can. So what I'm going to do, same as everyone else, I'm only including each player for one position. So at a push, for example, if Hall got injured, there are players that can play there, but it's not their natural position. Similar to United, actually. If we lose Luke Shaw, Dorgu can play there. Both Mazraoui and Dallo can play there, but it's not their actual position. It's if you're stuck. So yeah, fairs, understand. Now, then we go to centre back. You've got Dan Burn, Sven Botman, Malik Thiaw, and Fabian Schär. So I think for 1 game a week, again, I think that's pretty all right. I think it's pretty all right. You've got a good mix there. You've got some experience. I think there are 4 decent players. Thiaw was quite good for you guys last season as well. Dan Burn I saw was made the captain, which I thought was appropriate. I saw a little bit of mixed reaction to that. I thought that was quite appropriate, honestly, personally. But I mean, I'm not a Newcastle fan. But so with centre back, I think you're fine. I don't think there's any issue with centre back, especially for 1 game a week. It might be something that next summer you might have to look at in terms of just Dan Burn's age. That's probably one of the areas where you've not gone a little bit younger this summer. But I think for this season, I think that's fine. I don't see an issue. You've got 4 players across 2 positions for 1 game a week. I think that's fine. Then we go to right back, where you've just brought in Dedic, who looks really good. Your manager knows he's 24 years of age. You're going to have him for years to come. Looks to be a good player. When we looked at his stats, he looked all right as well. And you got him for a good price. So, and then behind him as well, or in front of him, you've also got Livramento. And then if you really got stuck, you do have the 19-year-old Sahar, if you needed to. So I think, again, right back, I think you're completely fine. And to be fair, that does also mean, say, for example, let's imagine, I'm not wishing it on him, but imagine Lewis Hall got injured. If you had to then move Dedic or Livramento across, you could call up Sahar and have him there as a backup at right back. So you could make it 4, but realistically, I'm sure it's better to have a specialist. But, so I think goal's fine. I think centre-back is fine. Probably next summer could be upgraded or updated, but for this season, I think is fine. Right back, once Dedic settles well with his old manager, again, I think is fine. And he's 24. He's not super young. He's a good age. So I think that's all quite good. Left back would be your only little asterisk there. Then you move into kind of what a 2 would be. I actually don't know. I haven't looked up this new manager's preferred formation. So what I've actually just done is just 4-2-3-1. The way we've done everybody else's, I actually haven't even looked. I should have done that, to be fair. But I've just done it. Everybody seems to be playing a similar formation at the minute. So I kind of just went by that instead of looking, which was really lazy of me. But I've pulled it up for your Strasbourg match. 4-2-3-1. Okay, so exactly what we said. So, kind of in your pivot as such, you've got Willock, who's injured. Joe Linton, I believe, is injured as well. Let me double check it. Is he injured? Major injury blow. Joe Linton ruled out of the Premier League opener against Liverpool. So yes. So you've got Willock, who's injured. You've got Joe Linton, who's injured. Then you have Lewis Miley, who's very good, but quite young. Lewis Miley is 20. You've got Alaji Bamba, who again looks very good, but is 20. And then you've got Sean Sturr, who seems to have done well in the bits of pre-season when I've seen the reports, who's 18. And from what I've read, Willock, Joe Linton would be sort of more defensive-minded players. Lewis Miley and Bamba are more sort of 8s box to box, and Sturr can do either or. So in terms of a player who's specifically defensively minded in your midfield, they're both injured. And one of them was for sale. So while I think Miley, Bamba, Sturr are all good, are all showing promise, I think have been great signings, I've no issues with it, I do think you probably need a defensive midfielder, because if you wanted to move Willock on and he's got injured, Joe Linton's getting no younger and he's injured, you probably need somebody reliable in terms of defensively in the midfield. The thing is, at 1 game a week, whether they're injured or not, Willock and Joe Linton are on your books. Would you go and buy another midfielder when you've brought 2 in I don't know if you'll get another one. I think you should. I think you need a defensively minded midfielder to sit with them, because you just don't know how reliable Willock and Joe Linton are going to be. If Willock and Joe Linton were to stay fit between them for large parts of the season, I think you'd be all right, actually. I think if they get injured, you're probably going to see Voltamada playing further back again, and that just doesn't suit him. So that's, I think, is another slight concern I would have. So I think left back, you need somebody to back up Hall that's an actual left back. And I think you need a defensive midfielder is what I think you need. But we'll see. It really does just depend on Willock and Joe Linton. Can they get themselves fit? Can they stay fit for any sort of length of time? Otherwise, the one who's the most defensive out of who's left, I think, is supposedly Sean Stern. Now, this is going off like transfer market, their most played positions, all that kind of a thing. But you don't want to be relying on the three youngsters. I don't think. You'd want at least one more with just a little bit of a more, I think, world-wise head on their shoulders. But we'll see. We will see. I think it does depend on the length of their injuries. But I mean, we've covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sort of 7 positions, and we've only got 2 that we're a little bit wonky on. Let me see. Then we go to the left wing. So left wing, you've got Basu Manatore that you've brought in, and you've got Harvey Barnes, who was all right for you last season. So I think left wing is fine. You've got Torre and you've got Barnes. Cool. You go into the 10, you've got Voltamada, who we know played better there last season before Eddie Howe started tinkering with it. So if you see Voltamada come back into himself, the way he kicked off last season, I think that's cool. And you have got Ramsey, who was fine. Look, for depth there, Voltamada, Ramsey, fine. Then you go out to the right wing. You've got Elanga and you've got Jacob Murphy. And now Jacob Murphy, as far as I understand, can play both, but is primarily a right winger, so that's where I've put him. Elanga, I don't know what it is with Elanga. I didn't rate him at United. With Newcastle, he has some games where he's utterly sensational, scoring all over the gaff, giving you crosses, he's like a Superman. And then you have other games where you're going, why did Newcastle buy him? So he's very up and down, very mixed. In terms of Jacob Murphy, Flossie, what do you feel about Jacob Murphy? I just feel looking at the right wing, I think it's not a priority this summer. I think a left back and a defensive midfielder is, or another midfielder. But I feel like that could probably do with being upgraded. What age is Jacob Murphy? He's no spring chicken. Like, Jacob Murphy, he's 31. Like, Jacob Murphy's 31 and Elanga's hot and cold. I think probably right wing is one you'll have to upgrade maybe next window. I think that's what I would be saying. So I think centre back and right winger will need upgraded or updated next summer, but they're not urgent, I think, for this season. Then at striker, you've got Willisula, who was very good and can score. And you've got Wissa, who I thought was dreadful for you last season, who supposedly was quite good in the World Cup. He's been, I don't know how he's been in your pre-season. If Wissa can actually get a run of form together, I think he could be really good. I think either way, Willisula is very good. If you had another backup striker, you wouldn't complain. I think that wee chap Neve, the younger chap Neve, I'm sure that's what he is. And obviously we know that Voltamada can play there because that's where he was playing when Johan Wissa was injured. So I think at striker, you're probably okay. Again, I think next summer, if Johan Wissa has another iffy season, that's probably one you're going to have to upgrade. So I would say probably next summer, you're going to want to upgrade centre back, right wing, striker. I think this summer, before it ends, what I would be concentrating on is left back and in the midfield. I don't know if you're doing that. There was obviously links for you guys to a number of midfielders. None of them really felt like strong links. You've just brought in Dedic. Your fans have been asking to concentrate on right and left back. You have now brought in a right back. I think if you bring in a left back and a midfielder, I think you're completely fine. Even if you bring in one more, you have to remember it's one game a week. There's going to be a lot more energy. Newcastle are going to be the complete unknown because nobody knows what they're going to look like. New manager and a rake of new players. I understand the pre-season hasn't gone particularly well, but to be fair, your pre-season was your manager changing, losing your biggest players and reshuffling entirely. That's going to take a little while to settle. So what you might find happens is Newcastle might have a rough start to the season, and then when the manager has things clicking into place because he's a lot of training time, because there's only one game a week, what you might find is after a bit of a slow start or maybe a difficult start, things might click into place. I think because it's a younger team, you're less likely, not impossible, but you're less likely to suffer with a load of injuries across the positions. And I think Newcastle then might grow into the season. And by the other side of Christmas, I think Newcastle might be doing really well. That or the manager's going to be sacked already. But I mean, it's very possible Newcastle grow into the season and end up doing all right. Now, I don't know, but it's possible. Flossie says, Murphy could be on his way out. We do need to upgrade. So yeah, like one game a week, you're set. You're completely set in goal. You're set at centre back. You're now set at right back. You're fine on the left wing. You're fine in the 10. You're fine at the striker. You need a left back, and I would suggest a midfielder based on the injuries. And you could possibly do with upgrading the right wing, but you could be okay. I just don't see the house burning down the way people are talking about. Now, the manager might go in, the ideas might not take, the squad might not gel, you might see a lot of youthful mistakes and it might be disastrous. It's possible. But I just don't think that's what's going to happen. I feel like this is going to be the season where the manager sort of sets a baseline. I think you're going to set your foundations. I don't think you're going to massively shoot up the table, but I think even if you were to finish in the same position, even if you finished in 12th again, but with more promising way of playing, with less problems, with the squad starting to gel, with a clear, ambitious mindset in your way of playing, I think people would still feel better because this is a start over. See, when people talk about transition seasons or, you know, the club is in transition, this is a transition. Okay, I don't think I've seen one quite as big as this in quite some time. This is a transition. Therefore, you have to understand he's come in halfway through pre-season. He's not been involved in most of the signings. They're very, very young. You've lost an enormous amount of leadership. And the players that are still left that would be seen as experienced are injury prone. So he is up against it. But you do have one game a week. You've brought in some really promising young players. I just don't think the house is on fire. There's work to do. There's work to do. But I don't think it's as much as people are perceiving. And I actually think like, all of those players that have left were a part of getting you in 12th. They were there. You finished 12th, along with the manager. And I understand Eddie Howe's time was up, but he wasn't on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? So those players that have been sold got you into 12th. Is it really devastating to let them go? I've seen people saying about Spurs, you know, those players got them into 17th back to back. They're obviously not good enough. You need new players who didn't get you into 17th. Would the same not stand for Newcastle? Those players got Newcastle into 12th. Therefore, should they not leave with the manager? Is it actually a bad thing to lose them? And I just don't know if it is, personally. But it's unknown. And I think when it's unknown, you can err on the side of caution or feeling a little bit negative, or you can be hopeful and positive. And I just think that's a personal tendency then. Rob says, some people went with the whole thing for weeks. It was bloody ridiculous. Yes, it was. Let me see. Mohammed says, I know Newcastle bought well, but it feels like they need more. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think what they've brought in is very good. I think they probably need to add a left back and another midfielder, maybe an older midfielder, before the window closes. That's sort of where I'm at with them. I think they've done well. They need just a little more. And then I think next summer, they'll have some positions that need upgraded. Sam says, the one thing I disagreed with Howe was when he tinkered with Voltemada. He needs an out-and-out striker up with him. Agree. He wrecked Voltemada's form. Voltemada was flying and tinkering wrecked his form. All Boxed Up says, it's a fresh start for Newcastle. Others have loads of baggage. Flossie agrees with me, on the same page. Mohammed says, hot take, Wissa will get 10 plus goals for Newcastle. The worrying part is, that does actually feel like a hot take. So Wissa is their main striker, technically. They've brought him in to be that. And to say he will get 10 plus goals this season does actually feel like a hot take. Because I think Asula is better than him. But, as I said, if Wissa can carry the form that he found in the World Cup into the season now under the new manager, we could see a whole different player. I'd have sold him and replaced him. But you might see a whole different player. So that the fact that that's a hot take probably is concerning, yes. Sam says Newcastle could surprise us all for good or bad. I think if Newcastle do well, it surprises most people, if I'm honest, because I've not seen anybody outside this channel speak anything positive about Newcastle. Nobody at all. And maybe they're out there. I have not personally seen them. Apna, hello to Apna, welcome to the channel, thank you for subscribing, and says, when things don't work out for you, don't cut out the parts which were good. It's like you had a rotten bread, but you threw away the good part. No, I agree, and like what I said was very broad stroke, but I just think it's easy to correlate, oh, well, they've lost the big players, they're all going to fall apart. The thing is, the big players were a part of something that went wrong. So I think it's easy to say, oh, well, what's left is what was rotten and what's gone was the only good bit. I don't necessarily know if that's the case. I think Bruno G is a massive loss for them. Tonali was not committed and his attitude was stinky. So is that a loss? A stinky attitude that didn't want to be there and had no sort of connection to the club or the fans? Is that a big loss? Or the money that he's brought in, is that more valuable than keeping him? And I think the money's more valuable, so I think that was fine. Anthony Gordon, I didn't see any Newcastle fans that were bothered by that. They were happy for the money. The money coming in was worth more to them than Anthony Gordon, because while Anthony Gordon has done all right, actually, he had a very good World Cup, he wasn't doing the business for Newcastle last season. So I think Bruno G will be a loss. Tonali, I don't think so at all. And I think Anthony Gordon, while he was an all right player for them, the money was more valuable than the player. Do you know what I mean? Wissa could be refreshed and end up the new Asprilla. Gordon was a liability, says Sam. Oh. Rose says, I think they did extremely well considering the situation they were heading into the window. They seem like they have less work to do than a few of the clubs I've covered in this series. Well, I think they've less to do than Liverpool. I think they've less to do than Man United. Chelsea primarily just need to sell players, so I think they'll be all right. Who else have we done? Spurs still have work to do. I think they've less work to do than definitely United and Liverpool. And let me be clear, based on actual expectations. Nobody's looking at Newcastle go, finish in the top 4. So what United and Liverpool have to do to sort of guarantee a top 4 finish, and they're not going to be scrapping on the final day of the season, and what Newcastle have to do to maybe get into a Europa League spot, that's what I'm comparing. So just context before anybody loses their mind. I agree. I do think it feels like they've got a little bit less to do. It's not as bad. It's not as bad. It's been sensationalised. Sam is so torn. I'm just looking at Sam's comments. Sam is so torn. I think I've confused Sam more. Sorry, Sam. Sam's first show back and I've confused her altogether. Love it. Guys, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. It's been an hour. I can't believe it. This was so enjoyable. I love these shows. See these wee squad reviews? I like these. We're definitely going to do these again next summer. Stumbled upon it by accident thanks to Chelsea. And really enjoyed them now. It's turned into something that I didn't expect to do. I've really enjoyed the series. I feel like I understand a lot of the teams better than I did before. There's teams I'm a lot less worried about. There's teams I'm a lot more worried about. One of them is my own, and not in the good way. But yeah, so thank you all for being here, guys. It's been really thoroughly enjoyable. I've had the best time. Yous have been wonderful. Thank you to All Boxed Up and to Rob for their super stickers. Thank you to you for your opinions and hopefully your likes and your time, obviously. I will be back this evening at 7 o'clock and hopefully I will see you all there. Have a good